Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
We're going to hang out for a few moments and we'll get started in just a second.
Sounds great. What are you drinking?
I have peppermint tea. Do you have a beverage?
Ooh, I don't, but that needs to change. Or maybe it's good that I don't, so I can stay focused.
Maybe you have an assistant in the house who will fetch you a beverage.
Perhaps. If I have someone watching this live, tap the shoulder.
The technology. Send it to New York.
Yes.
All right, well, we will go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Amelia Acosta-Powell. I serve as the Associate Artistic Director at the Repertory Theater of St. Louis. It is such a pleasure to be joined this evening by the director of the Rep's production of Mlima's Tale, Shariffa Ali. Hi, Shariffa.
Hi, Amelia. Thank you for having me. It's so good to be back in the virtual space, but nevertheless with the Rep.
It's great to have you back and so wonderful to see your beautiful face. I have had the distinct pleasure of getting to know you over the last couple of years, but especially the last couple of months here during Mlima's Tale. And I really want to introduce you to the rest of the Reps family. So maybe you could just start by telling us who you are, what your role is in terms of Mlima's Tale, how you came to the Rep, and then a unique fun fact about you that people might not know.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I am Shariffa Ali. I am originally from Kenya, and I grew up in South Africa right around the age, the time that South Africa was emerging out of the apartheid era. So a lot of my early influences have to do with the creation of protest work or activism-related work and community engaged theater. And so I pursued a degree in theater naturally, and armed with an undergrad and a dream, I came to the US in 2013, where I was only supposed to be around for 2 weeks, and then that 2 weeks has now expanded to encompass this 8-year journey that I've been on. My home is New York, Harlem, New York. But I am really fortunate to say that St. Louis and the Rep Theater of St. Louis is also a place that I now call home. And I guess a fun fact about me is I am an avid collector of magnets. So whenever I travel, I try not to collect or buy a lot of things, but I love getting magnets. And the sad part of the journey is my current fridge is non-magnetic, so I've had to find new ways of showing off my collection.
Wow, that is a fun fact. Did you get a St. Louis magnet while you were here?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, now people know if you encounter Shariffa in the wild and you want to get her a gift, you know her collection.
My growing collection.
Or perhaps the gift that's really needed is magnetic surfaces. People should give you like metal frames and things.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Good.
All of it.
Fantastic. So you were the director of Mlima's Tale, and some of the folks watching this show may not be as familiar with that role. So can you just tell us about what that means? What was your journey with the piece as the director?
Absolutely. I think the director has the glorious and often lonely work of bringing a theatrical text to life. And, in the case of ours with a play like Mlima's Tale by the exquisite Lynn Nottage, one of the greatest living writers of our time and beyond, it was a really relatively easy and fulsome journey, birthing this play, taking inspiration from the page and coming into a process where team of of allied designers, like a scenic designer, a costume designer, sound designer and composer, and what other discipline is there? Lighting design. Is what our version of the story could look like. And then, it's time. It is at this point in time that we enter the casting process. And you and I, together with the incredible folks at X Casting, found this, let's say, constellation of stars that joins us as the incredible cast members of Mlima's Tale.
Can't tell if you're just frozen for me. Are you there?
You were frozen for me for a minute.
Okay, it seems like we're back. Sorry about that. Yeah, so you were speaking about collecting together all of the designers, finding the right cast members to tell this story, and if that describes the lead up and how you brought the right elements into the room to create the beautiful piece that folks hopefully have seen or will see, what is that like once you get here on the ground as the director? No. Just a moment, as we're having some technical difficulties and seem to have lost Shariffa momentarily.
Did you lose me?
I did for a moment, but I see you now. Do you see and hear me?
I do. Oh dear. I'm so glad we're back in real time and no longer making theater for the screen. But could you repeat the question?
Of course. So, I'm going to choose to celebrate that I can even be in conversation with someone who's across the country from me rather than get frustrated with the limitations of the technology. I was asking, you were talking about the pre-production process and how you gathered all the right voices into the room to help tell the story with all those designers and the casting process. And then I was asking what your process looks like once you're on the ground in the room, how you see the director and the cast and the designers actually making the play in rehearsals and in tech.
I think that the work begins once the full team is assembled and creating together. And so I always kick off a process with a set of, community agreements. What kind of room do we want to build together? What kind of story are we interested in telling? And how do we model what shared leadership could look like in the rehearsal space? And so that is the kind of groundwork for what I imagine or believe to be creating the conditions for, optimum creativity and optimum play. And so I think of the rehearsal room as, in some ways, like a jungle gym where we have as many of the elements of the real show that with us in the room to experiment, explore, discover, and in some ways that notion of like, the best idea wins is the environment that we all work to create as a team. And so then I use my outside eye, my curatorial eye, to respond to the bold proposals. We have a saying in our rehearsal room that goes wrong and strong, which means that there is nothing that you can do as long as you're doing it with conviction that is not of service to the process. And that's how we chose to enter this world, particularly because we had the big task of traveling to multiple countries and exploring a wide breadth of humanity in the multiple characters that we got to know in the story.
Absolutely. I think that's such a beautifully collaborative process that you're describing, and I appreciated all the moments that I got to witness it and or be a part of it. Yes. I would love to, oh, sorry. I would love to rewind us back. You have such a facility for storytelling and for creating a nutritious environment for storytelling. And I would love to know the origin of that creative impulse. How did you become a theater artist in the first place, or become interested in a career in the arts?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think that, whenever I would travel to Kenya to connect with my family and, build relationship with the elders in my community, I always remember being astounded by the ways in which they were telling stories and the ways in which stories were a part of the family lineage. And so we don't have a book that contains all the stories of our people, but we certainly have grandpa or great uncle Agui or grandma who can recall with like such great detail the stories of our people. And so I think it was the listening to the cadence and the musicality and the drama with which the elders in my community told story. I think for me, that's where the seed of, being a theater maker was planted. And, I say the word theater maker, Amelia, with that, with intention, because I don't identify solely as a director or solely as, a producer. I think everything that goes into the process of making theater, whether it's getting on all fours and like wiping down the stage, is my work. And so I'm really excited to get to share that work with, committed people.
That's beautiful.
What do you find?
Yeah, please.
Am I glitching at all?
Sometimes, but since you've returned, you've been much clearer.
Okay.
Am I glitching for you?
There's sometimes a stillness that I don't know if I'm still in the room or not, but yeah.
I see. I'll try to nod more aggressively.
Aggressive nods are always good.
I think we can all assume that StreamYard, which is the platform we use to share this with all of you who are seeing us on YouTube and Facebook, just can't handle this much beauty on one screen, It's just overwhelmed.
Oh, I lost you again. Oh.
I hear you.
Okay.
You highlighted just what range there is in this work. So I wanted to ask what you see as the most rewarding elements and maybe what some of the greatest challenges are.
I think the most rewarding element is the idea that we get to transform.
Drat. If we cannot get Shariffa back in this moment, we will definitely bring her back at a later point where we can have more fulsome internet and stable connection. I will use this moment while I'm here just to highlight that for those of you who may not have already seen Mlima's Tale, it is playing through July 11th at the Burgess Theater at Coca. So if you are in St. Louis, please come see the show. We will drop into the comments in the chat the link to buy tickets. There you are.
Hello.
I was using the brief moment to plug tickets to Mlima's Tale.
Thank you for the plug. And I'm now plugged into my phone, so hopefully that will go a little bit better than the Wi-Fi.
Perfect. Let's see how it goes. You're very clear. Your picture is very clear.
Okay. Good.
You were saying that one of the most rewarding elements is the ability to transform.
Absolutely. I think that the thing that theater does that no other medium can do, in addition to the sharing of space between performer and audience, and that exchange of energy, has a lot to do. The true magic has a lot to do with how we can witness performers take on a myriad of identities or worlds, inhabit worlds that we might have never even been to, uh, and yet we can sort of get a sense of what life might be like in those spaces. And I think that, in a play like Mlima's Tale, that takes us from Nairobi to Zanzibar to Vietnam and ultimately Beijing, that there is a magic in being able to go to those places all in a 90-minute moment, and capture the essence of what it means to have this breath of humanity on stage. I think the challenge then comes with, when you're tasked with that, how do you honor the the character, the voices that you are trying to represent, and that's a yummy challenge for a director and for a creative team, for artists as well, because it requires us to do the deep digging and the research and the interviewing and the breath work, of involved in sort of like taking on a world that is different from your own lived experience.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the coolest things about this work, is just the ability to learn about and experience so many different things. Like, I feel like I've gotten to live multiple lifetimes in a way by kind of digging deep into different pieces.
Completely. And I guess if anything else is the challenge for me as a director, is that we get to meet these characters, and we live with them for a few moments, or one or two scenes, and then they're gone. And I feel like each character in this play deserves their own spin-off, because their lives are so dense and so rich, and that's why Lynn Nottage is a genius, for that very reason.
Definitely. Agreed. Now, folks will probably be aware that we started rehearsing for Mlima's Tale in late April. So even in the month and a half that have elapsed, the world has changed pretty fundamentally in terms of the pandemic. But I'm curious if this experience was meaningfully different for you versus other processes you've had that weren't in the midst of a global pandemic. And if so, how that changed the experience.
Well, I think that the experience of making theater at the Rep in particular is unique and different to any other experience I've had before. And I think that there is a beauty in the way that we as artists have been received by the Rep, and have always, I've always felt safe in the making of this work, whether it is medically safe because of the immense the testing and protocols that safety protocols, that the comprehensive plan that was put together to ensure our safety, and safe in terms of like safe to take risks, safe and held and supported by you and by Hannah Sharif, the artistic director, to tell a story that deserves to be told, a story that is dark, and I felt that I could dare to go there and dare to say the thing that I intuit that the play is saying. Especially, we are living in a post George Floyd, post Ahmaud Arbery, post Breonna Taylor, the list goes on, environment, right? Where we're telling a story, yes, about the trade and trafficking of ivory, but because of the bodies that are in the space, because of us as the storytellers, we cannot be divorced. We cannot divorce the story from the world that we're living in. And I think that Lynn does a remarkable job of reminding us in this piece how we are all so deeply connected, and the way we treat animals says a lot about who we are as a society and as humanity. The way we treat clothing, you know, and of course the way we treat people, particularly people of color, particularly Black bodies in the space. And so though to go there required a sense of bravery, and I could only do it because I felt seen, heard, and safe and valued by the rep.
Well, that's certainly what we like to hear, and we absolutely, the feeling is absolutely mutual. I think that it's always a commitment, right, for artists to commit to come out of their comfort zone, out of their town, come to us to share their work and their artistry with St. Louis, and for the rep to commit to artists is always a trust building agreement. It was particularly intensive this time around. Like you mentioned, we had a lot of safety protocols in place. We rehearsed in masks, face masks, and at points socially distant, and did a lot of conversations virtually that would have otherwise happened in person. And I think that hello, my cat Frida would like to greet everyone. There are a lot of,
hi Frida girl.
There were a lot of elements that that could have gotten in the way or felt challenging or like a compromise. And one of the things that I thought was so beautiful about the process for Mlima's Tale and about your leadership of it is that all of those steps felt worth it all along the way. The importance of the story was always front and center, and the creative problem solving around how to create amidst the pandemic circumstances was always from a mindset of abundance and looking at what we are able to do.
Completely.
Just a lot of gratitude for you.
And back at ya. And of course, I love the people of St. Louis. I mean, hello, barbecue. I will admit, I came to St. Louis a vegan and left a fully fledged meat eater because of the barbecue culture over there. So thank you, St. Louis. And
so this conversation has, in the span of 4 minutes, gone from the beauty of Lynn's play is it highlights that how we treat animals says a lot about how we treat ourselves as a society and other people, to St. Louis turned you into a meat eater. Well, we won't get too far down that path. I will say the food scene in St. Louis is great. If you're not in St. Louis and you haven't visited, come check it out. And while you're at it, come before July 11th and check out Mlima's Tale.
Totally.
There are folks who engage with this show who are students and who are young artists or who might be inspired by our conversations to pursue artistry. So I really wanted to hear from you what advice you might have or what wisdom you would share with anyone who's interested in becoming a director or making a life in the arts.
I think, as that very notion that you said, being asset-based rather than deficit-based is a thing that I had to learn. And it is probably the hardest and most brilliant lesson of being a theater maker, a young emerging theater maker in the time that I was young and emerging, although I like to think of myself as young and emerging at all times. But the idea that there is so much value and richness around you. And I would encourage young theater makers to lose any sort of preconceived idea that the industry or the field is this thing that is outside of yourself or outside of your circle of friends. In fact, the industry is the person on your left and the person on your right. And, I feel very fortunate to have sort of grown up with an amazing assortment of people who are, including you, Amelia, who are now in positions where they are, running institutions or making incredible work and I would say that when you're just starting out, make anything as much as you can. Say yes. Be asset-based, so look for what's around you and make theater out of it, whether it's the street corner or the abandoned storefront or the roadside like I did, don't be afraid to ask for what you need. I feel like in this country, people are interested in being a part of your success story. So unless you ask for the help that you need, the answer is no. The answer is always no until you actually ask. And I had to really release myself of those colonial inheritances of the stiff upper lip, or being too scared or prideful to ask for what I needed. And that practice has really yielded amazing results. So ask for what you need. The industry is all around you. Be asset-based. There are stories, waiting to be told anywhere and everywhere. Don't wait for validation from an institution or an individual. Make.
That is very good advice. Thank you for that. It's somewhat the flip side of that question. I'm curious, within the theater industry or field, acknowledging that is all makers, what if you could change one thing, what would that be?
In some ways, I think the pandemic really revealed to us the disparities and the troubles in our industries. And I think that it's a little bit odd to me. It's more than odd. It's astonishing that as artists, it is very hard to make a sustainable living. And when I think about what's essential to this, what is an essential service, I think that art making is essential. Art making is crucial to us understanding our humanity. And so the very fact that that we don't have the sort of infrastructure or not even institutional, structural support that we could get from government, or because our arts are fueled by, let's say, capitalist systems and capitalist mindsets. What happens is it becomes very difficult for artists of all kinds to sustain themselves as artists. And so if there was one thing that I would change, is that the work, making the work, becomes more sustainable, and that artists can afford to have a living wage, can afford to have insurance, can afford to have healthcare, can afford to send their kids to college, can afford to go to college, So that financial and, of course, economics and race are intrinsically linked. So I think that it's also important for me to say that I wish that there was more equity in our field as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed with that. I just have to say, I don't know who all is going to watch this program. I have had just the best time collaborating with you, Shariffa, as a director. If there are producers, artistic directors who are going to watch this, Shariffa Ali is the real deal. She's the director you want to hire. By the time you get around to asking, she's going to be booked up. It's going to be too late. So you heard it here. Probably not first. Other people have heard it before, but I truly just think that you're an incredible artist and human. So thank you for bringing your work to the rep. Thank you for your beautiful interpretation of Mlima's tale. I feel really proud of the work, and I would have anyway, but it feels particularly special to reemerge, to reopen with this piece as the rep's opportunity to say to St. Louis, after a year and a half of relative quiet, that we are back and we are here and this is who we are. It feels very much in alignment with who the rep is, and thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you. Such a huge honor to be in relationship with you, Amelia, with Hannah, with our incredible creative team and the performers of Mlima's Tale. It is it saved me, this show, when I had very little to look forward to. This was the life boy that kept me afloat in all those months of darkness. So thank you.
Well, after that sweet and lovely moment, I transition us to our lightning round. You knew it was coming. It's the time for fun facts in 60 seconds. So how this works is I put 60 seconds on the clock, and then I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Answer as many as you can in the time.
All right,
ready?
Let's do this.
Okay. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Ready, set, go. Favorite game?
Uno.
Favorite color?
Green.
Favorite food?
Ethiopian.
Newspapers or magazines?
Oh, newspapers.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Puppies or kittens?
Puppies. Sorry, Frida.
Favorite visual artist?
Mickalene Thomas.
Favorite season of the year?
Fall.
Driving or flying?
Can't drive, so flying.
Favorite vacation spot?
Nairobi.
Last song you listened to?
Bad Blood by Taylor Swift.
The truth comes out. Incredible. Shariffa, thank you so much for making the time to be with us here tonight. It's awesome to hear more about your process. I think it's really special to be shared with our family here online, and particularly special for those who will have the chance to see your work on stage. Again, Mlima's Tale is playing at the Burgess Theater at Coca. It is playing through July 11th. It is you can get tickets at repstl.org. The link is in the chat or comments. And it's a beautiful, beautiful production. If you are not in St. Louis, you will still be able to see Mlima's Tale, the virtual version, coming soon. So please check the website for that as well. Shariffa, thank you again, and it's so good to see you.
Thank you, and thanks for tuning in, everybody.
We will be back in approximately 2 weeks with our next Flippin the Script, so please join us again. And if you are enjoying these episodes of Flippin the Script or the work that you're seeing from the rep, right after Shariffa and I exit the virtual stage, you will see a link with a text to give information. So please feel free to support the rep. Thank you all for your continued support. It is for you and with you that we make these stories. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Amelia.
Thank you.